He has indeed developed a nosebleed. He's got NFL takes that he wants to get coming out of his nose. We can't get to them, though. Stugotz, do you know how rare it is to be in December in professional football? The sport gets so crazy that all of us are watching Philadelphia and San Francisco, and all of us are having the same reaction, even though it's just one game. Like, oh, my God. San Francisco is like, they're so fast and so big, and nobody wants to play against Trent Williams. Tony's got a lot of professional football takes, but we're in the rare space, and it's wonderful, where college football is king because the argument is king today. Yes. The argument is bigger than the action, and the action has in the Saints game yesterday, I saw a guy on the sideline, just leg broken in half, clearly broken in half. Guy just gets sideswiped. He's just like a sideline person.
Like a chains guy?
Not behind the chains guy.
Like a backup chains guy.
It's so bad out there. Professional football. This is slaughter that we're trying to get to the last 4 teams in a course.
Hell of a game, though.
Yes, all of them. We got to get to Alabama, Georgia. We got to talk about the actual games. But the carnage that it takes just for us to get to the argument, which is all we want to have today, and yell at each other about this is why this team's better than that team. But if it's a made-for-television spectacle, does it matter? Like, we can argue about all you want. It's great commerce, but who cares who the 4 teams are? They're going to put 4 great teams on television that a lot of people care about, get a bunch of fan bases, get a bunch of money, and Coach Prime will try and buy better players next year than your players because he's Coach Prime and he's as charismatic as that.
And it's portal day.
You keep saying made for television like it shouldn't be that way. Like, I agree. Yes, give me games that I want to watch. Do you, Dan? I ask you. You keep saying made for television. Do you want to see FSU?
No, but Chris, it's supposed to be merit-based. That's sports.
No, but Dan,
what has just happened to FSU, Stugotz, is patently unfair. It's just unfair for what it is that we play sports for. You can't look at what happened to FSU and say that's not. You didn't set up the rules that way. You just jerry-rigged the system so that team can't get in.
Life is unfair. Okay, the kids. You know what? It's a good growing lesson. Okay, life is unfair.
They'll all be better because of it.
All right. Perfection doesn't mean as much as it used to mean. That's what the committee is telling you, and I'm okay with that. Dan, would you answer Chris's question? Because all the people railing against Florida State not making it in, a month from now, when they hope everyone forgets them railing about Florida State not getting in, they're going to be like, oh, my God, we've got Michigan and Alabama in the Rose Bowl for the right to go to the championship game. This is awesome because it's a better matchup.
Michigan's team's reaction to Alabama being named the 4th team, I think, was very telling of who they hoped they were going to get. But I do think that there's like an interesting thing happening here, which is that historically with the playoff, they've put the quote unquote the teams that have earned it in, even if maybe the 5th team that was left out did look like they were the better team. Like, that's what they've done. And then they changed it this year. And so I think it's the last year of the 4-team playoff. So I don't think this will happen again.
Such a great ending, though.
It can happen again.
But isn't it great punctuation?
It's great because they finally had to make a hard decision, I think. This one wasn't as easy as ones where they could just say, well, this team was undefeated. This team lost to Purdue by 50 points or whatever, so they're out. And that's what they've been able to do. And so I just think that it's really funny that in the final year of this is what's happening. But if you're a casual college football fan who's just going to tune in on January 1st and watch the playoff and you're not in the minutia of the argument, like, yeah, this is Michigan and Alabama. You're probably
Jessica,
pretty excited
this is why Stugotz wins again with Alabama. Who doesn't want Alabama in the playoff? Nick Saban doesn't even have to make the argument on behalf of Alabama. But I'd be pissed off if I was Georgia, Stugotz. Like, come on. Like, that's a dynasty. You don't win 29 straight games in that conference.
I understand that. You don't get rewarded because you did it the last 2 seasons. It's all about this season. And this season, the best team they played before
3.
Alabama was Missouri, Dan.
Missouri's good.
Missouri's damn good. Okay. Missouri would be in a 12-team field.
Oh, and lose in the first round. And
Missouri's
that's the reason
good.
we don't need a 12-team
playoff. But they get the opportunity to lose. And Florida State will not get that opportunity.
Dan, I'm not saying they're not good. I'm saying, what would you rather see? Would you rather see Milroe taking on Michigan, or would you rather the third-string quarterback from FSU?
Stugotz, my point is this, Stugotz. This is why and how, right in front of your eyes, that college football, minor league football becomes professional football, because when it becomes 12 teams, Missouri's going to beat one of these teams in one of those games, and that's how they're going to become an even bigger power, and college football is going to become even bigger, and everyone's going to be in the money game, and that's the game Deion Sanders is trying to get into. Like, Deion just wants to be close to those top 12 because that's where the real money is. The television money has contaminated the sport. It's a free-for-all. The committee that committee can be bought. What's best for television?
If you're going to look at like television ruining the sport, I don't think, like, first of all, I think the 14 playoff was always a bad idea. And most people that really follow and care about the sport, it doesn't make sense you have 5 power conferences in a 14 playoff. It just has never made sense. And now they're skipping straight past 6, which like maybe you'd get your automatic bids for the Power 5, although the Pac-12's gone, plus at large. No, we're just going straight to 12. Like, none of that has ever made sense. And also, like, it should be noted the ACC voted against expanding this year because there was all this conference realignment stuff happening in the SEC. But I think if you are mad at the networks ruining college football, I don't think like the 14 playoff is stupid and bad, and it was always a bad idea. But the entire makeup of the conferences and what we've seen in conference realignment and the disillusionment of rivalry games and the taxing travel schedules that players are going to have next year, all of these other things, like, I think are a much more existential crisis and things that are going to legitimately change what we watch in the regular season more so than the decision to leave Florida State out of this playoff.
There's always going to be complaints with all this stuff, and I don't think that people are going to work up the same kind of emotion for number 12 and number 13.
Oh, just wait.
Yeah, that's true. Being true, and where you mentioned that Stugotz always gets to win is because he's not a huge observer of college football. His guiding light has always been do it against Bama, and for 20 years, remarkably, that's been fine. But here's a tweet from Benjamin Wolk that I want to share. Florida State isn't that great. Pulled away from a 6-6 group of 5 team late. Needed a prayer to beat a 6-6 rival. A 3-point win versus a 4-8 conference foe. Lost by 10 at home. Oh, wait. This is from my Alabama file. Because Alabama, let's just rewind 1 week. They needed a miracle to be in this situation.
And they got it.
Georgia lost the one game they couldn't afford to lose, which is why they're out. And I would argue Alabama lost the one game they couldn't afford to lose. Double digits at home against Texas, and they couldn't afford to lose it because for once the rest of the Power Fives did their job.
You guys want drama? This is what you get with drama, okay? What you do is you put Alabama at 2, you put Georgia at 3, and we absolutely rematch the entire thing once over again for all the marbles. Secondary.
I thought the bloody nose was a bit, and I can see blood.
No, it's bleeding.
There's blood in my nose.
He's got so many takes. He wants to, again, Will Levis's best play yesterday was recovering 2 of his own
He
fumbles.
looked great
Like,
yesterday.
Florida State didn't win all of their easy games handily. Like, I saw them struggle against Boston College. I saw them struggle against Clemson in overtime. I saw them struggle against Miami. Like, I do understand the argument that Alabama needed a miracle against Auburn to even be in the position that they're in now, but Florida State wasn't. Also, they weren't blowing out teams all season either.
And I saw Texas almost lose at home, and they didn't because of a missed extra point to Kansas State. Yeah. And I've seen Washington play those FSU games that you're highlighting for the better part of 2 months now. That happens in every college football season.
Correct.
Which is why
it happened to Bama, and it happened to Florida State. I think it kind of like
which is why
can't say one's worse than the other.
But all that is why being undefeated mattered so much, because you know you have to navigate that, and some teams don't survive it. Some teams lose those games. Florida State found a way to not lose those games.
Can I just say the thing that everybody is afraid to say right
Finally.
now? I see both sides to this argument. What the college football committee has to do is really hard. I appreciate their effort. Thank you for your service.
I totally see both sides. I think if you want to blame someone, blame Brian Kelly. LSU could have been better this year, and Florida State's win against them
Now
in
that I
week
can get
1
behind.
would have looked a lot better if LSU was
that's
able
the
to
thing.
pull it
Well,
off against one of their SEC opponents.
It's
in the West.
weird. It's the weirdest thing to me. It's like Florida State is being penalized for actually winning that game against LSU because the college football committee all year has been dying to rank LSU high, but can't because that tricky little loss that they had when they were the 5 seed. They're not in the playoff conversation because they lost that game
they lost
to
3
Florida
games.
State.
They lost 3 games, Mike. It's just different. Like Alabama's, the way the committee sees it, Alabama's loss to Texas is better than Florida State's win against LSU because Texas is the second best team in the country. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's how they view it. And I think it all comes down to Jordan Travis's injury. I think that's actually that was it for them.
But
they watched Florida State struggle the last 2 weeks offensively without him, and they decided we want a quarterback like Jalen Milroe. We know he's going to play in the playoff. We would rather see that against Michigan. Michigan hasn't played against a quarterback that good all season. I want to see that too, and that was their calculation.
Now we know that this has been in their bylaws the entire time. It's the first time they've decided to enforce this rule, where it's like they can take into account big injuries. And I sincerely hope that alters how people go about managing their game. Sorry, we're up by 15 in this fourth quarter. Let's go ahead and bench our quarterback because he might get hurt, and that might affect our standing in the college football playoff. It's a tough break. They did what they had to do. They're the first team since Auburn that goes undefeated in a regular season that doesn't have an opportunity to play for a national title. That should mean something, going undefeated inside the ACC, which, by the way, was 6-4 against the SEC this year. And I've heard Paul Feinbaum say, well, you can't count Wake Forest against Vanderbilt. That shouldn't have any sway in the national title.
He's right.
Bullshit. We're just cherry picking what our arguments are, because the whole thing about the SEC is the weekly, week in and week out grind.
Mike, FSU, the part about this that is most inherently unfair, like this is simple. It's why we can argue about it so well, so often, and so long, Stugotz. Sports are supposed to be, if we're doing random measurements of everything, it's all subjective, but at the end that there's a champion. It's supposed to be a measurement of merit. It's not. But it's supposed to be. If you beat all the teams in your conference, one of the power conference, and you schedule Florida and LSU outside of the conference.
But you're down to your third-string quarterback, Dad, and that should be factored in.
But I'm just saying, we can argue back and forth on all of this. The fairest thing, though, to say is that FSU, in schedule and everything else, did absolutely everything it had to do. And so it's unfair that they're not in.
I didn't say beat LSU. I said beat Alabama. They beat LSU.
But two
Wrong
teams,
SEC
they
school.
scheduled Florida and
Yeah, but
LSU.
Texas scheduled Alabama, and they beat them on the road.
We're taking our eye off the ball here. Michigan scheduled ECU, UNLV, Bowling Green. They beat Penn State, Penn State,
Laughing
and
at
Ohio
FSU
State,
fans.
and
That's where we
Iowa.
should be right now.
They had to play Iowa. The Big Ten West has never won in a Big Ten championship game against the Big Ten East. Michigan has skated in all of this, and the entire time they had a guy cheating at other games and coming back and giving them all the signals, and Harbaugh was buying hamburgers, and it doesn't even matter. They're in, and no one's even arguing about it.
That's totally right.
We're supposed to do a 4-hour show, and I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I think Chris nailed it right on the head. You're perfect, but I can't stretch that out for 4 hours, Chris.
I see both sides.
No, it's hard. It's hard. Two teams were going to be pretty pissed off just because, damn, more people went undefeated this year. That sucks. How dare you, Washington, win that game? If Oregon won it, we could have jerry-rigged it some more. That stinks.
I just want to laugh at FSU fans, really.
One of the problems is the committee put FSU in, and so they said winning your conference championship removes you from the conversation.
Right.
Which is crazy.
If this was the plan, why did they put FSU at 4 last week?
I know, crazy.
It's a great question.
Yes.
Also, in all seriousness about Michigan, how is Michigan the best team in the country over Washington? Washington has more wins over ranked opponents. They beat Oregon twice, who the committee was saying all year was the 6th or 5th best team in the country. I know Michigan has the win over Ohio State, sure, but Washington, by the committee's own metrics, should be higher. They should have been able to choose where they were playing in the semifinal, and instead they're going to get the Sugar Bowl against Texas, which is obviously going to be more of a Texas crowd, you would think, than the Rose Bowl, which is now where Michigan and Alabama are going to play.
But Michigan got the more difficult game, I feel like.
That's the Harbaugh punishment right there. The Harbaugh punishment.
They have to play Alabama.
The NCAA punishment on Harbaugh is you get Alabama instead of FSU. That's the punishment.
I thought you meant Iowa over Oregon for a second.
Jessica, it's moving very fast for Stugotz. He's a casual college football fan.
What do you mean? I was right.
It's just all about Alabama.
How are you making Alabama better than Texas?
I am.
But Texas did it against Alabama.
That was early in the season, Mike. I mean,
different team, Alabama.
Different team, different quarterback. That quarterback has been great. Not good. He has been great since about week 3.
Stugotz, Milroe, they put 2 spies on him in Saturday's game and stopped him, like in the second half. He was like those. They've got
a run. You did? Did you watch?
Yeah, he's in the playoff.
Okay. I think that settles it.
The most disgraceful thing here is how cutthroat all this is and kicks Georgia to the curb. Like, that was a great champion. Like, oh my God, what you guys did winning the business of this thing where you knocked off Saban and now he's a lovable underdog that Chris Cody is rooting for last week because he rooted for exactly this scenario where Stugotz Stugotz could come in and just like drink a bourbon and just sidle up next to his friend. I want to see Alabama in January because that's what the holidays are about.
But here's Georgia's non-conference: UT Martin, Ball State, and UAB. So I think they end up getting punished here by not playing maybe an ACC school, maybe just any other non-conference school that's in the conversation late in the season too. I think they did a little bit of what Michigan did, which is like they're not going to really play anyone hard in the first part of the season, which, by the way, the argument for playing a good non-conference opponent in week 1 or week 0, don't do it. Like, I don't know why anyone, like, this bit Florida State in the ass. They won the game and it didn't even matter.
Well, Texas beat
they won a bigger game.
Alabama lost the game and it didn't matter.
But why would Alabama agree to play that game again? That's why they never do this, right?
I'm changing my mind with every sentence you guys all say.
No, but now
that's the beauty of it.
I am just like flying back and forth.
Jessica,
I'm like, yep, Jess is right. It's a good point. Oh, wait, Stugotz is right. Do it against Bama.
But now Texas is coming to the SEC, so that becomes the super conference where they're playing all the minor league professional games. I want to get back to what you were saying, though, Jessica, and ask an honest question. If this is a merit-based thing meant to crown a champion, I'm legitimately confused about how much credit I'm supposed to give to Harbaugh if he does win this thing. Like, he hasn't been there for the only game that they won. Like, he was banned from the stadium for cheating. Like,
been suspended for half the season.
Like, he missed the first parts of the season, the last parts of the season.
Are you saying in your personal record book he might not get a ring?
I'm legitimately asking.
I'm going to use it if you're not.
I'm legitimately asking all of America, how much credit do we give Jim Harbaugh if they win a championship and he like coached 3 of the games and just gave a bunch of press conferences?
Genius.
Like,
it does get buried in all this how awkward Jim Harbaugh was after that game. That looked like a guilty guy. He did like the first thing he said, bet, and then he was just like trying to like bring all his guys up. It was just, I don't know. If he was completely innocent, he would have acted differently. I got the vibes of this guy knows he's guilty, so he's just like, I'm gonna smile the shit out of this. I'm just gonna be super happy. Bet! Come on, you talk. And it's just like it was
You're gonna have to Google what that means.
Yeah, it was a weird vibe he gave off.
Odd.
I think Chris and I had the right measurement for this, the way they should do it, because when Michigan learned that they were playing Alabama, nothing. But if you told them they were playing Florida State, that room would have been cheering.
Stugotz, you have to watch some of this. Everyone enjoyed Michigan's reaction to the horror. Like the horror of you learn, hooray, we're the best team. Oh, no, it's Saban.
One spot, the other school plays Michigan. Number 5, heartbroken. Who's number 4?
That's it.
Did a woman get stepped on there? Like, sounded like somebody was squashed to death.
You hear
like they watched a car accident.
That gasp, I mean.
No, there's like 2 seconds of genuine reaction, and then you realize that they're realizing, oh, wait, this is going to be videotaped. So then you get the fake, like, all right, yeah, we want them. The totally insincere, yeah, bring on Bama. And it's like, no, you don't mean that.
Now imagine it's Florida State.
The World Cup celebration video.
There is a dude that hides himself in his hoodie upon hearing Alabama. He just puts his hoodie over his face like, no.
Tony, I have watched you squirm in that corner. I felt bad for you for the last 90 minutes or so because
The nose?
Well, it's just it's not just the nose. It's that he is dying to talk about big football. Sunday. He wants
That's
Sundays.
right.
Everyone's chattering around here about Saturdays, and he wants to do Sundays, but we're going to get back to Saturdays. So, Tony, I will give you one muffled take through a nose that is bleeding, because you can't get all the takes out. I will give you room for one take here from Sunday football.
Sunday football taught me this, Dan. All of a sudden, the MVP market for the NFL has swapped, where now Brock Purdy's 3-1 favorite to win the MVP after that win in Philly. Oh. I'm intrigued.
I wish you could fade like odds right there. Like I wish I could bet that he isn't going to win MVP. Like if the odds are so good, I don't know. Give me odds on. I bet he won't.
You can by betting other folks.
So bet every other person.
Jalen Hurts is plus 350.
But I want just one bet. No, he won't.
I'm feeling damn good about my Brock Purdy MVP ticket.
Oh, Mike Ryan was
Got it at plus 1,500.
Mike Ryan for whatever stuff Mike Ryan is reading in order to find the money in the crevices of gambling advantages. Mike Ryan said San Francisco is going to score a ton of points and San Francisco is going to cover, and I'm going to put that's going to be big bet for me because I know how good San Francisco is when healthy. Trent Williams is a beast when he's out there. Deebo Samuel's changed everything for them. He's their Tyreek Hill.
Well, Purdy is the MVP when Trent Williams is out there.
I feel like if you're getting out in front of a Brock Purdy MVP, you have a lot of tickets out there.
Yeah. I have him in Tua. Yeah.
More tickets.
Because I think that's where the value is. And I also got ahead on the Dolphins to have the best record in the NFL. I'm feeling real good about that. By the way,
we hear about the ones you feel good about.
Jordan Love.
Right, exactly.
Jordan Love, low key, kind of figuring it out.
Really good.
Yeah. I'm impressed with them. But for me, over the last few years, you know how Stugotz is with Nick Saban at Alabama? That's how I am with Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. And I'm kind of worried because they're a little healthy right now. They usually get healthy towards the end of the year. But I think it jumps out to anybody. This team has a physical advantage. They have a tactical one, and they have the horses to actually carry out what has proven over a third of the NFL's history is a cheat code for a ground game. And now they have Christian McCaffrey at the center of it. They have a cheap quarterback that is making plays. He's making the throws when they do turn to him. They have a guy like Deebo Samuel who's impossible to bring down at his size. And on top of that, he's fast as hell and physical. This team is more physical and tougher than everybody else. They travel well because defense travels, run game travels. They are, in my mind, and have been for the last 2 years, and they just got hurt last year, the best team in the league.
The other thing, too, as an Eagles evangelist and a Jalen Hurts evangelist, it's tough to see because I had a couple unis on the Eagles. But the more important thing is San Francisco drives 75, 77, 85, 90, all consecutive drives that all score touchdowns. And when you're doing it at the link against a defensive line like that showed they can stop Miami, who's got a great offense.
It's 8 deep.
They can stop anybody.
It's 8 deep. Fletcher Cox has played 180 games for them, and they got someone else on the line who's played 189 of them.
Hassan Reddick's incredible off the edge, and it didn't matter. They would just get yard after
them
yard
getting
after
gashed
yard after
is
yard.
Alarming to see it done that way. They're the ones with Lane Johnson. Man, do you know how fascinated I was just watching
turnstile, by the
Lane
way.
Johnson playing against Bosa?
Did you see that video? It was like two kaiju going together.
No, but that's right. I told you a few weeks ago that I did nothing but watch Trent Williams because the guy's got a documentary on Prime, Silverback. Everyone in that league fears him. Why? There's a dude who ran away from him. Turned his back and ran away because everyone's afraid of him. He comes out of that tunnel with the beatbox and everybody else.
Nailed it.
And you know that they're tougher than everybody else. And they've got a running back that leads the league in touchdowns.
I think it's fairly consensus that the best three teams in the NFC are Dallas, Philadelphia, and San Francisco. I guess you can make an argument for Detroit out there, but I think they're on the fringes of that conversation. San Francisco has kicked Dallas and Philly's ass.
They have. You're right. Did you hear what Mike
points.
said, though? Did you hear what he said? A team is getting healthy at the wrong time. I mean, and he's right.
Yeah, they usually start doing this because they got banged up and they lost, 3 straight? Purdy, they were writing columns that, Purdy isn't the guy. And then they get healthy, and then you see exactly what this team can do. For me, it's the only thing that can stand in their way.
Who made Philly's schedule? I mean, it's brutal. You have to factor that in, don't you?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I suppose those Stugotz, but they were saying, hey,
they played Kansas City and Buffalo, and now they play Dallas after this.
But now they were saying they have to come in to the link, right? That's what was
the link. Yes,
that's what they were.
That's what Hassan Reddick was saying, right?
Yeah. And so San Francisco, it's not just that they were tougher. Let's not lose sight of what just happened. The Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl, 1 loss. Kelsey's a superstar. They all want that fame. Tyreek Hill, they all want what Jason Kelsey has now. Famous because they've been at the top of the sport. San Francisco's been the best team in the sport for 3 years. They went into Philadelphia last year and couldn't play a quarterback because football happened to them. And McCaffrey's at quarterback because they don't know what to do. And Philadelphia started talking shit about that from there. And Trent Williams goes in yesterday. And did you see how much fighting there was in that game? Because Philadelphia's like, no, we're as tough as you. And San Francisco's like, no, you're not. Not when we've got Trent and not when we've got Deebo. You want to play football? We'll beat you there. You want to fight? We'll hit your security man. We'll get ejected from the game for hitting your security guy on the sideline because it's not football anymore. You want to fight? Let's fight. Let's do it that way. We got Trent. We got Debo. What are you going to do? Give up 4 straight drives right down the field. When the place is buzzing and in the first quarter, we can't get a first down. And then what do? We kick Jason Kelsey's ass up and down the field.
It felt like football, Dano.
Oh, my God.
It felt like
The
football.
weather was right. Fred Warner is a menace.
We haven't talked about Big Dom yet.
Are you kidding me? San Francisco went into Philadelphia and they told Sirianni, that caveman, we want to fight.
Big Dom versus Trent Williams.
We'll hit your security guard in the face.
Do it in the playoffs.